If you want to stay up to date with all current hip hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit that like button. It really helps me out. Alright, what's up guys? So today we got another tier list video, and this one is going to be on J. Cole. So we already did the Logic one. If you want to go check that out, I'll have the link to that. But this time I thought J. Cole would also be interesting, as J. Cole is also just how Logic was, is one of my favorite artists, and over the period of me growing up together, with Logic projects coming out, J. Cole was in that same exact spot, even sometimes more than Logic. So J. Cole really is one of my top, maybe my favorite artist, but there's a clash between 3-4 at that number one spot, Logic being one of them too. So this is going to be interesting, as my opinions on these projects has changed over the years too. But we're going to try to figure it out as we go. One thing I have to note is that the Truly Yours and the Any Given Sunday mixtapes aren't on here. But maybe I'll touch on those when I have kind of the listing of these, of the 3 mixtapes and 5 albums that we have here. And then I'm going to fit them in wherever they fit. So this one also has less tiers than the Logic one we did. The Logic one had S through I think it was more than D at least. So this one's going to be a bit more tough, as we have to fit them into a tighter space. So I would say, as we did with the Logic one, we're going to start out by picking one album that we're going to use as the benchmark and go from there. So yeah, I would say 2014 Forest Hills Drive or For Your Eyes Only is his best project. Although that kind of conflicts with Friday Night Lights, as that is also an incredible project with just, I feel like Friday Night Lights kind of compares to Logic's Welcome to Forever, the third Young Sinatra, as they're both just, it was when both of them were about to release their debut album, and the whole project is just hit after hit after hit. So Friday Night Lights was at some point definitely my favorite J. Cole project, but in this thing, I'm not entirely sure. It might rank S, it might rank A when we compare it, to example, to 2014 Forest Hills Drive. I kind of see it on the same level, just personally, but of course you gotta say that 2014 Forest Hills Drive is better than Friday Night Lights, because just Forest Hills Drive was just his, that's just the benchmark as to classic modern rap albums, I would say. So I'm not quite sure on that. And then also, if you've watched my top 5 J. Cole albums video that I've also done 2 months ago or something, you already know that For Your Eyes Only is my favorite J. Cole project, and I feel weird ranking it below these two. It has to go somewhere here too. So I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna figure that out. But let's see. So let's say, I can put all 3 of them in the S category, although that would be, I would say personally for me, the most fitting placement for them. Let's see what else we got. We got, of course, The Warm Up, The Come Up, Born Sinner, KOD, and Cold World. I would say Cold World is probably, out of all these, his worst project. Of course, the Any Given Sunday tapes and the Truly Yours not being on here, but even compared to those, I would say that Cold World is definitely beneath, ranking beneath those in terms of enjoyability and quality, just because you can really see, the whole thing with the Let Nas Down situation was going on around the time where J. Cole was trying to put out hits, but kind of neglected that storytelling and lyrical aspect that he rose to some kind of fame with on his first 3 mixtapes. And the only reason that Jay-Z signed him. So I would say, I'm not sure if I'm going to put this in the D category. As I said in the last video, it's kind of weird navigating around these, because is this this is the best J. Cole album, this is the worst, and everything ranks in between? Or is it it's compared to other albums? Because I definitely don't think that Cold World, The Sideline Story, is a bad album. I still listen to every track on that album to this day. So it has some replay value. I play it in my playlist. So I'm not sure, but if we're just doing this is the best J. Cole and this is the worst J. Cole, I would put it in the D category. Now, basing the other stuff on that, let's see where the Come Up ranks. The Come Up was, of course, very raw, and the same thing like with the Logic one, the Young Broken Infamous. Although I feel like Young Broken Infamous, I don't want to compare this to Logic too much, but it's just a good comparison because their careers have just been so similar. The Come Up is very similar to Young Broken Infamous, but the Come Up was still, I would say, less perfected than Young Broken Infamous. I feel like Young Broken Infamous has aged way better than the Come Up. But the Come Up, I would say, still, of course, is like a legendary J. Cole project as it was his first mixtape. I remember just like, going back to it, we had, I think the first Young Simba on here, we had School Days on here, and all these incredible, like, nostalgic J. Cole songs. But it still felt very unmastered. And I don't want to put it above the Cole World. So I'm not sure where I would rank this. Maybe they go on the same level. Just because the Come Up has such a historical value in the J. Cole discography, but I'm not quite sure. So let's rank the rest of these. KOD. While I did enjoy KOD, I can see why people don't like it, as it was just the themes he was talking about on the record were just very surface scratching, like on Brackets where he's talking about taxes and all that, and then he's suggesting like to have a phone where you can choose where your taxes go. That's all cool, but it's just it didn't go in depth enough also on the whole addiction topic of the record. So I'm not sure where this would place. It's definitely not in the top tier, but it's also definitely not in the worst tier. But maybe it's a C. Then we have Born Sinner and the Warm Up left. This right here, I'm gonna change this in a second, but I'm just gonna see what I want to put. So Born Sinner, I think, is definitely a step up from Cole World. Definitely. I would say it's on par with KOD. The thing I think that makes KOD stand out is, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but the production on KOD is impeccable. It's so good. When you listen to the beat of Photograph, the way the drum pattern is like programmed, it's so good. It's so clear. It's mixed so perfectly. But and I would say that this is kind of like playing against Born Sinner, but Born Sinner is not a bad project. It's rather long compared to other J. Cole projects, but it still has like it kind of like jumps. It doesn't have like a linear theme, kind of like not a storyline like 2014 Force Hills Drive to it, but it kind of like jumps in between topics thematically. I would definitely put it on par with KOD, maybe even in the B tier. I think I'll put it in the B tier, and then we have the Warm Up left. I think the Warm Up is also, I wouldn't say underrated because it does get a lot of credit and love from the J. Cole community. Of course, it's not as like popular as, for example, Friday Night Lights, just because that was like the Friday Night Lights should have been his debut album instead of Cole World, and I think everyone can agree on that. But yeah, so this is, I'm not sure. I think I would rank the Warm Up together with Born Sinner. Kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm doing KOD justice just because I really did enjoy that project, but in this case I'm just not sure. Now I think the bottom half is kind of like it's finished. I would leave it like this. I'm really not sure about this though. We could go like this, but I also feel like just objectively comparing Friday Night Lights to For Your Eyes Only, it's not fair to say that For Your Eyes Only is better and deserves the S category instead of the A category. So we could also go like this, saying that 2014 Forest Hills Drive is his best album, and then Friday Night Lights and For Your Eyes Only are good albums, just a bit below, which I think most J. Cole fans would agree on, and they would place it like this. But also, I'm really not sure. We could also go like this, for example. Like we say, 2014 Forest Hills Drive is kind of it's a good album. It's a benchmark album, but just the personal value for me, um, is different because it is like this. So I'm not quite sure. I think this would be, if I had to rank it like just from my personal feeling towards the projects, I think this would be the tier list that I would make. This is it. But if I, of course, I see that not a lot of people, or not as much not as many people enjoy For Your Eyes Only as much as I do. So they would put it like this or this. And I think that's where I'll have to like compromise and say, like, if I had to rate this, it would be like this, but I know that people, they love their 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and I see why. But to me, just my experience with For Your Eyes Only is so incredible that I really would put it on top. And Friday Night Lights, it's kind of in between. I would say both of these projects, they're kind of like in between, and then however you feel about For Your Eyes Only. I also know people who would put For Your Eyes Only like down here, but just to me, I feel like the project is so personal, and it has so much, like, it's really like when you listen to it, you're like in, like, Cole just like puts you in this mindset and takes you down this story. It's incredible. So I love the album. I really love the album, and I think this is how I would leave the tier list. This is my final one. All right. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. What would you put different? Do you totally disagree with me? Do you totally agree with me? I want to know your lists. And yeah, I really do enjoy making these tier lists. And maybe there are a few more coming in the future. Until then, if you've watched this video to the end and enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if y'all would subscribe, turn notifications, and hit that like button. It really, really helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. But other than that, I hope y'all have a really good day. Till the next one.